Today on KBlend.
Just didn't want to suffer anymore. I don't want my kids to ever feel that way. And like part of me, I remember back then thinking I'm never having kids. I made this box of my childhood trauma and that's back there. I'm now a successful adult. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I told myself.
Yeah.
And then one day you find yourself in our parking lot.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, my wife's unhappy. My kids are unhappy. Like, I'm unhappy. Maybe I'm not as successful as I thought I was. You guys actually care. Like, this is the first place that we've been where it's like, you guys do care and have compassion and like, there's no judgment. Push this magic button and it's fixed. It's like, this is something that can help. And it's not something that I'll have to take forever. Now where I'm at, like, it's not something that I worry about anymore. Like, somebody could offer me something and I could very confidently say no and hold that boundary, and definitely an autopilot and just going through the motions of life. Now I feel like I'm doing a better job at living it, trying to have actual relationships. Sometimes you just got to ask for the help to be able to break the chain and create a new future for not just you, but everybody after you that you impact.
This is Jesse's story, and it is a powerful reminder that breaking the chain does not begin with pretending you are strong. There is a kind of authority that only comes from passing through the deep and dark and returning with something real to say to those still trapped there. Welcome to the KBlend Show. Honest conversations about God, suffering, survival, recovery, and the realities people face when life falls apart. KBlend is a state-licensed medical practice, and this program is educational in nature. When we reference scripture, history, or older writings, we do so to help interpret the human condition, not to replace individualized medical care, mental health treatment, emergency services, or pastoral counseling. We use these sources alongside responsible medical understanding because human suffering did not begin in modern medicine, and biology is not the whole story. Our goal is not merely temporary relief, but restored capacity, connection, and sustainable change. We care for the whole person, medically, emotionally, relationally, and, when appropriate, spiritually. View us live on www.mykblend.com. Here is your host, Krista Kleider.
And welcome to the KBlend Show. My name is Dr. Krista Kleider, and I am your host for today. We are here with Jesse, our guest and our friend who has been with the KBlend program for a couple years now. And amazingly, he has a very unique situation at the KBlend program because he has not only experienced the transformational journey of healing from his mental health disorders at the KBlend program, but also his wife, Chantel. She also has been treated at our facility. So Jesse, tell us a little bit today about what brought you to the KBlend program. Now, I know that Chantel, your wife, she was the one who got treated first at our program. And tell us about what led you to contact KBlend a couple years ago to seek help for her.
It was becoming just a more drastic, dire need for some type of help. And we tried reaching out to other mental health professionals and not much was helping. And we were actually at a point where she was just crying out for help in some major ways. And we went to one mental health facility and they said it was going to be a couple months before they could even get her in to talk to her, let alone get her any kind of help. So she had heard about you guys and mentioned it. And I was like, well, let's go there now. It says they're open. And we got to the parking lot and gave you guys a call. And I think I was on the phone with John for over an hour. And you guys got us in and got her into treatment and started this journey of like growth and healing. And
That's amazing.
it has been.
And we are finding that so many of our patients that come to KBlend, that the mental health care system, the way that it's set up, is failing them. When they go into a psychiatrist or sometimes even their primary care physician, all that those providers want to do is throw more labels. Oh, now you have this diagnosis, or that diagnosis wasn't correct. It's actually this diagnosis. And, the diagnoses are helpful because it helps you to understand what you're dealing with, right? So you know how to kind of handle the situation in the direction that you need to go. But then unfortunately, oftentimes the medications do not work. Based on the STAR-D trial that was completed by the US government several years ago, we know that unfortunately most people, that there's only a 30 to 40% chance that you're going to respond to an initial antidepressant. So when you go to a provider for help, unfortunately, you might not get the help that you need. And it might not be for several weeks or sometimes several months, not just because they can't get you in, but then you have to be patient and wait that 6 to 8 weeks to see if that medication's going to work. Did you experience that?
I've experienced something similar, and I know Chantel has as well. But it's more of our stance is we don't want to be having to take medication for the rest of our lives or just a daily medication. We want to learn how to deal with our traumas and triggers and everything, and maybe not cope, but like heal from it. Cope initially, but heal from it and grow and try and teach our kids the same way and new tools.
Absolutely. That's amazing. And, oftentimes we call that generational trauma, where if we don't recognize the things in our life that spiral us, we teach that to our children, right? And they're going to encounter similar issues, similar circumstances as they start to grow up, and they're going to respond the same way that you do. And if you don't recognize that you're in that spiral, what happens is that they pick up those behaviors, those thought patterns, and we imprint on their brains. And sometimes that's also called generational sin, depending on what it is, right?
And it
depending on your
happens
background.
unknowingly. And like I've came from a background of a father that was very like angry all the time, and I found myself becoming irritable with my kids over silly things. And like that's something that I've continued to work on and still continue to work on and try and teach them different ways. And especially my son, like he has impulse control issues as well. And I didn't get modeled anything better, so I want to try my best to model something better for him. And when I do mess up, be able to apologize and grow from that and show him that like everybody messes up, and show both my kids that everybody messes up, and
Show him that you're human.
yeah.
You're human. So, one of the things that we talk a lot about too at the KBlend program, because as you go through our treatment program, we coach you every step of the way. So you're never alone in the treatment process. And,
You
we
guys
talk.
are amazing at that as well. Like we are
Oh,
very grateful for the support you guys have given us throughout all of this.
oh, thank you. So we talk a lot about control and letting go of that control in your life. And so oftentimes depression, anxiety, anger, we know even as I went through my psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner training, in the books that I had to study for school and for my board exam, depression, anxiety, and anger are diseases of control. I often use this illustration with a lot of patients here. You white knuckle life. You grip on, you hold on, and whether you picture that you're gripping a steering wheel, whether you picture the top 3 things in your life that give you the most grief and anxiety and frustration, we white knuckle that.
Yeah.
And we try to control it. And every day it's a fight to maintain that grip, right?
And have some type of stability, or what we believe is stability. And yeah, it's hard to get away from that mindset when you've come from a background that, I don't know, is trauma filled.
Absolutely. So as your wife and you went through the KBlend program, how did that sense of control change?
Initially, it is a big realization that like you're not really in control because things are coming up that you don't even really think about or have thought about. I know personally, and Chantel even expressed to me like things that had come up internally that was like, I thought I processed this, or I had no idea I even needed to process this. So even during treatment, like you're just not in control, and you really got to give up that control to even see any type of like movement, let alone growth.
And you mentioned that you're trying to change for your children. So you have a beautiful daughter, a beautiful son. I know that you're really actively every day teaching them more about their emotions. How has your relationship changed with your children?
I'm not as reactive. They seem to be more open to coming to me and talking to me. It's a slow process because I was very reactive and kind of a grump at times, especially working a lot of hours and stuff. I don't know, it was difficult at the time to maintain any type of emotional regulation and not being modeled that or have the right tools and stuff, and trying to learn that at the same time as well as support my family. I found myself overwhelmed at times. And now since KBlend, I'm still human and I have my moments, but I don't ruminate on those times. I can kind of bounce back and apologize and try and repair and move on.
That's amazing. Completely transformed your family.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we are so blessed that you were willing to join us today and share your story. And we're going to hear more about Jesse's story here in just a minute. His journey, healing journey, him and his wife, Chantel. And we are so excited to hear that you've had such great, amazing results from the KBlend program. So if you're listening today and you or someone that you know is suffering, maybe it's depression, anxiety, PTSD, OCD, suicidal ideations, maybe it's chronic pain syndromes, whether it's fibromyalgia, migraines, maybe it's neuropathy, maybe it's just heavy arthritis has taken over your body, we can help you. Give us a call today at 734-605-8500. We want to talk to you, hear your story, and let you know if the KBlend program might be right for you. So give us a call right now. We'll be back in just a few minutes to hear more about Jesse's amazing testimonial.
7 months ago, I had plans to kill myself about 3 times in that month.
Scott had been dealing with anxiety, depression, and suicidal ideation for over 50 years. Then he found out about KBlend.
My best buddy got me into KBlend, and I told him, there's no way you can fix me. I'm unfixable. And John and Krista assured me that they can help me.
John and Krista Kleider of KBlend use their proprietary and highly personalized ketamine infusion plan to work like a sledgehammer to break the chains of bondage to anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, PTSD, and other mood disorders. Call the KBlend helpline at 734-605-8500.
My experience with KBlend, such a loving environment, just fantastic.
KBlend can help you too. Call the KBlend helpline at 734-605-8500.
Welcome back to the KBlend Show. My name is Dr. Krista Kleider, and we are so excited that you are listening today. We are with Jesse, and Jesse is unique to the KBlend program just because he has been treated at KBlend, but also his wife has been treated at KBlend. And we see that sometimes where a spouse comes in and knows that they need help and they seek treatment from us for their depression, anxiety, PTSD, OCD, suicidal ideations, or chronic pain syndromes. But then they also start talking about how their spouse needs to be treated too. And we do treat a fair amount of married couples and or significant others that come into the program. But Jesse's situation, Jesse, I know that you have had quite a bit of trauma in your background. And when your wife first came in to be treated, she shared some of that with us about what you were going through and what you were struggling with, and made it very clear that she wanted you to have treatment too because your household was struggling. So let's start though at your childhood and your young adulthood, what you went through to get that to the point where you were at when you first started KBlend, because you were not in a very good spot at all.
No, I guess I came from a home that they're alcoholics and drug abuse was happening. I'd really had no other family other than my parents. We were very isolated. Most of my family was from Michigan. I was living in Florida and didn't have anybody else. So I grew up with just them and in bars and around all kinds of unsavory characters. And by the time I got to like adolescence, I was acting out very much so. And a lot of ways. I was abusing drugs. I was getting into the wrong crowds, doing just criminal things, and a lot of just partying and trying to escape life, really. And I remember anytime going home, just having this pit in my stomach where I was just physically ill, where I didn't want to go home, didn't want to just do life other than be with the people that I thought was like friends, which some of them were friends that I still have to this day, and we've all grown and had our own issues and stuff, and thankfully we've been able to stay in touch and stay close, but a lot of the people were not good people for me, and I found myself in a lot of bad situations that I put myself into. I guess not clean, but like started changing my life after almost overdosing and my mom having to take care of me for a while. I just felt an extreme amount of guilt. I couldn't get off a lot of the stuff that I was doing. Wound up meeting my now wife back then, and we became like good friends over many years, and then wound up married and having her own kids. And she came from a background that had a lot of trauma as well, and putting both ours together and just trying to build a family and stuff, it started to realize quickly like we both needed help. She definitely had made me realize a lot of stuff about myself that I probably wouldn't have. I would have just stayed in denial of, oh, I'm doing fine. And really, I was just, I don't know, escaping through work after that and not living life.
Absolutely. Going into survival mode.
Yeah, that's
Survival
what
mode.
everything was survival
Yeah.
mode or escape. Like whether it was alcohol or drugs or some hobby or work or whatever, I was just trying not to face what was actually like bringing me down inside.
That is so common, right? When we're in the trenches, we basically, I like to give this illustration where we get covered with mud. And when we get covered with mud, as we're crawling through the trenches of trauma, what happens is that your vision becomes cloudy. You can't see because the mud is covering your eyes. So it's exciting for me to hear that Chantel started pulling you up and telling you, this is what's going on. These are the things that I'm identifying. Like, you need help. You need a ray of sunshine in your life.
Yeah, she had been crying out for help, and I couldn't support her in the way that she needed because I wasn't facing the things that I need to face and growing in the ways that I needed to grow as a parent and a husband and everything. And I didn't want to follow the same path that like my dad did, where he just escaped to the bar and partying and stuff like that. I
Absolutely.
wanted to face these things and try and do better and be a better husband and support her in the ways that she needed, because like I want her in my life as long as possible, and we both want to be in our kids' lives as long as possible, and hopefully grandkids' lives one day. Like we want to have that, and we wouldn't have the chance at that if it wasn't for coming to KBlend.
Excellent. And so you're breaking that generational trauma.
Yeah.
You're stopping it right now. putting your foot down.
And it's not easy, like, even after going through treatment, like, you still have work to do, but, like, in my case, I got criticized a lot growing up coming from an alcoholic family, and a lot of stuff I did wrong, and I got punished in school, punished at home, like, I was grounded all the time, suspended, like, I mean, you name the punishment, I went through it, like, jail, everything. I don't want anybody else in my family to experience that, so I've gotta do the work. KBlend's making it to where I don't necessarily ruminate on those mistakes anymore. Like, I still will find myself like, "Oh, I can't believe I did that. I know better," and then get out of that mindset like, "Oh, I need to change this," and find a positive or a learning path from there, you know?
Yeah. So you're giving yourself grace and forgiveness
Yeah,
that
it's
you're
becoming
human.
more
Yes.
it's easier as I've gone through treatment.
And allowing yourself to be human and allowing yourself to be human in front of your children. So when you overcorrect them about something, you overreact, you get angry, you're able to go back and apologize. Dad was wrong.
And a lot of times it's not even them or anybody else. It's something that I'm dealing with internally that I really just the timing was wrong. And
Yeah.
yeah,
So praise God for Chantel, though. She has pulled you out from the trenches.
she's amazing.
Yeah, she is very amazing. And she actually, for our listeners, she actually volunteers at our clinic now and helps me quite a bit. And you volunteer as well. So thank you so much for doing that. I also wanted to talk about, we oftentimes, you mentioned, bury ourselves in work. When we're in those trenches, we find things to keep ourselves in some type of pattern, but oftentimes it just pulls us down more. So I know for your job was a big struggle at the previous location that you were at, but now you found a great job.
Yeah, it's much better. Previously, it was high risk. I learned a lot and it was good experience in a lot of ways, but at the same time, it forced me to live my life there rather than be with my family, and it just compounded all the issues that were already there that I was trying to not deal with. Made it worse over time until it all came to a head and we made big changes and even struggled afterwards. I don't think we would have like dealt with it as well as we did with if it hadn't been coming to KBlend prior to that, because it was a major disaster in our life that we basically, like, I quit my job. Chantel started working another job. We moved houses, and there was a lot of transitions that we weren't expecting that previous us probably would have had like a meltdown about, and we still had our moments of like, we can't do this, but we could, and we're still making it, and there's still daily struggles, but it's not doom and gloom anymore.
Yeah. So you're looking for that balance every day.
Yeah.
The balance, the positive and the negative. And, one of our themes at KBlend is that recovery is possible. So it's actually on the front of our booklet for KBlend. We talk about recovery all the time in our clinic because we often think that recovery is just for addiction, but it's not. Recovery is possible from depression, anxiety, PTSD, OCD, suicidal ideations. And so we talk about the recovery path because you have a daily choice every day how you live your life, the positive versus the negative, right? And so as you go through the KBlend program, we coach you through the process, but we also coach you after you're done with the process as well. And we want you to know that recovery is possible. And hundreds of our patients who have come through our doors have experienced recovery from those diagnoses. So please give us a call if you or someone you know is suffering from the same spiral that Jesse is describing in his life. We want to talk to you. Call us at 734-605-8500. You can also watch the video feed for this recording at www.mykblend. That's MY, the letter K, BLEND.com. So join us today and call us. We would love to speak with you.
This is Nate talking about his KBlend success on the Home and Health Show.
3 weeks ago, I would have been sitting here, I'd have been fidgety and not been able to speak clearly. Now I feel like I could face the world. The fears are gone, like the chains are broke.
Nate had tried just about everything to get his depression and anxiety under control, but the medications and therapy weren't working. Then he tried KBlend. Proprietary KBlend acts like a sledgehammer on treatment-resistant mood disorders like anxiety, depression, PTSD, OCD, even chronic pain.
If you tried everything else, why not try this? You went down that path before, why not go down this one?
Call the KBlend helpline at 734-605-8500 and talk with the KBlend experts about how.
Thank you for rejoining us on the KBlend Show today. My name is Dr. Krista Kleider, and we have been listening to the amazing testimonial of Jesse, who has had a wife who has gone through the KBlend program, and he has also gone through the KBlend program. And he's sharing with us today literally how KBlend has completely changed your household. It's changed your relationship with your wife. It's changed your relationship with your children. You are now way more emotionally intelligent in your household, recognizing forgiveness and grace and recognizing that you're human. And during this break, we did a little bit of talking about how that God really reached down in your life at multiple points in your life, surrounded you with angels, rescued you at your lowest points. Describe to us a little bit more about what's that like, knowing very well that, somebody listening right now has gone through that, or maybe they're going through that right now.
We were talking, there's been multiple points in my life where I believe it was definitely God just reaching out and saving me from myself, because I was taking all the paths that were just towards destruction of myself, really. I had almost overdosed a few times, and he's the only reason that I didn't get like help from a hospital or anything. I had my mom at one point, a couple of good friends watch over me, but like they didn't do anything. It was definitely God that kept me here. I'd been trapped offshore for 24 hours, 40 miles, and like storms bearing down on me, and the Coast Guard wasn't coming to help because we weren't sinking. Yeah, God saved us from that situation. There's just been so many instances where I've had to like face death, and it really sticks with you every time. And you, even if you're not like paying attention to that daily, like it's there in the back of your head. And I truly believe God's the one that saved me from all that. But at the same time, I didn't do the things that I probably should have afterwards. Like I was grateful that I was saved and everything, but it didn't make me turn closer to him for very long, unfortunately. And when I was younger, I didn't quite believe in God. Through all these situations, it's definitely, he's made himself very present and known. And whether it's him coming down and saying anything, he really doesn't need to. It's very known that like kept me here for a reason. And I don't necessarily know all the reasons, but I know one of them's to be a husband and a father. And I really take that seriously and want to do the best job. And I do get down on myself when I fail at that, but I've learned to have some grace and know that like I'm human and I'm going to make mistakes. And those are the times that like even now I can learn all this stuff, and in the moment it's not easy to apply it, but I can repair and try again.
Mm-hmm. And as you go through the KBlend program, I'm sure some of those traumas surfaced, and you had to deal with, your alcoholic family, the drugs that they were on, your childhood, going through some of those difficult situations as you were growing up as a young adult, maturing, right? I like to tell people that come through the clinic that trauma is trauma, and trauma will always hurt. So if you're believing that, whatever program that you choose for your mental health, that you can go through it and you're going to be completely immune from your trauma and it's never going to affect you again. Is that true?
No,
No, it's not
definitely
true.
not. And even getting treatment and like I'm still going through therapy to
Yep.
learn myself better and learn new tools and better tools that I wasn't taught as a young man and didn't have anybody to model for me.
Yes.
So it's a continuous work in progress, but
Absolutely.
it's worth it and
Yep.
things get better.
Yep. It's a process, right? Absolutely. That every day, again, that road to recovery, every day you have that choice whether you're going to allow your past traumas to spiral you again, or are you going to work through it, make better decisions, do what's best for you and best for your family, what's healthy for you, what's, versus what's not healthy. And so it's definitely a daily process. And the KBlend program, we try to teach you that as you go through the treatments with us, because we want you to see long-term recovery from those diagnoses.
Even the little questionnaires, like you can see your progress as you're going in, even if you don't like really recognize it, it's
Yeah.
easier to see like, oh, there's kind of an upward trend in, I don't know, my mindset.
Yep, absolutely. He's referring to the PHQ-9s. For those of you listening right now, PHQ-9 is a nationally recognized diagnostic tool used for depression. And we use that when you come in for your treatment so we can see where your depression is going. So that's exciting, that you recognize that, because
Yeah.
we do go over those results with patients as they go through the program. And we will see patients come in with severe depression and go down to mild, if not no depression, by the time that you're done with the KBlend program. And that's just in a matter of anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks that we see those amazing numbers come down. And crazy enough, when you take a traditional antidepressant, as we recognized at the beginning of the show, that can take 6 to 8 weeks before you even see a result. At KBlend, we oftentimes see amazing results in the first infusion, oftentimes see amazing results by infusion number 5 or 6. It is life transforming for people.
I remember after my first infusion, like the biggest takeaway was like I didn't have as many racing thoughts. Like it was like there wasn't as much noise, I guess, and it was, I don't know, eye-opening that okay, there is like something is happening,
Yeah.
and then it's just like you said, it brought up a lot of stuff that I didn't even realize I needed to deal with, and I'm grateful for the whole process. As hard as a lot of it is, it's worth it. And you guys are so supportive. Like there were a lot of times, whether it was Chantel in treatment or me in treatment, that we had to call and be like, we don't know what to do. We need help. Like somebody talk to us. And you or John was always there for us.
Absolutely. We want to see you successful through the program. And that's why John and I do this. Like, this is not a job for us. This is our ministry. We are here to help people.
And you could tell, like I was telling you earlier, you guys are really the first place that we've found that like you can tell you guys care and have compassion and empathy, and like there's no judgment. Like I've never felt judged by either one of you from the moment we came through the door or on the phone. Like I never felt like a burden. Like, we're very grateful for you guys in this place and your ministry.
Thank
Can I
you.
step in? Because I took the call from you after your first treatment. And I still remember the call. I was actually standing right around the corner from where we're sitting now.
There was one point I thought you guys were like trying to kill me or something. I was like freaking out after a treatment, and like it was just that I needed to relinquish that like control. And
I remember that in detail.
yeah,
I can see where I was standing the day that you called me after your first treatment. And I remember, do you remember what I told you?
I don't.
So I can tell you what I told you. I actually told you in that call that you were going to have to go through things the same way you just watched your wife go through it.
I think I do remember that. I think I was at work and I was like, I'm pretty sure I called like, I don't know how I'm supposed to do this and work and like live my life and like, but it's possible, like it's not easy. And I think a lot of people think like there's just going to be take this thing and that's it, but like they're tools like everything else. It's not meant to be like, push this magic button and it's fixed. It's like, hey, I need help in how my brain's working, and this is something that can help. And it's not something that I'll have to take forever. It's not something that like I have to worry about all these crazy side effects. It's eye-opening on how much it changed just in the first few treatments. And
I know your first treatment was hard.
yeah,
I mean, like
it
you walked
definitely
out of
was.
here a different person. Whether you liked the new person or not was still to be determined, but you were altered after your first treatment.
Yeah, and like it's been a while since I've had any kind of treatment, and like I feel like I'm still doing better than I would have been 2 years ago, Like I still fail, and I would get really down on myself when I do fail, and I still do at times, but it's not as a like intense reaction. And I'm learning that okay, I can step away and like reevaluate how everything went and come back to it. It's not a end all be all doom and gloom thought process like I was having. Like like the world's over, like it's not.
Can you remember at that time? I don't know if you still remember this or not, but when you called me that day, like you were being just overwhelmed by emotion. Like you were feeling things in a way that I don't know if you'd ever even felt it before in your life.
Yeah, like I think it was the first treatment. It might have been the second treatment. Like I don't know what other people experience in their treatments. Like I know there's colors and whatnot, but like it was like I was just being plopped in places. And one of the places wound up as like this almost like black and white sketch of my room as a kid. And like I could smell like all those real sensations of like being in my room. And it terrified me in a way. And it brought up a lot of stuff that like I didn't deal with. I thought I was over all the stuff with my dad, and like I had moved on from that, and I thought I was over all the stuff with my mom and thought I'd moved on from that. I thought I was going to be a good parent, and like facing the realization like I've got a lot of work to do, and thought I'd be a good husband, and facing the realization of I've got a lot of work to do. It was very overwhelming, and like I knew that all in the back of my head, but wouldn't like actually look at it in plain view and do something about it. And I remember calling my mom at one point and just telling her like I had it very hard and I wish we could talk about it at some point. And like she apologized and stuff, but it wasn't like a very good conversation, like she didn't deny any of the stuff or anything, but at the same time it was like I'm not gonna repair this way. Like I've got to come to terms with things on my own, whether it's like I can repair that relationship in person, or it's just I have to accept that that's the way it was and learn to move on from there, And part of the whole KBlend experience was like just accepting certain things. Like like you guys have said, like it's a disease of control, and I want my life to be perfect how I think it is. And everybody wants their life to be this picture perfect thing that they've got in their head. And none of it's that way. Like we all are in this reality together, and it's hard.
So I think that one of the problems with modern day psychiatry is all the myths that they feed people. And you made a comment about how I thought I was over these traumas. I thought I had moved past it, right? But trauma is trauma. And unfortunately, trauma imprints on our brains. And so even if consciously you're not thinking about the trauma every day, subconsciously your brain is like, moving the communication signals through those pathways because they've been imprinted on your brain, and deciphering rapidly within an eighth of a second, is it a trauma? Do I need to be triggered or do I not? And so it's constantly moving through those pathways in your brain, and your brain gets so overwhelmed that some of it does shut down. But then your trauma, though, is always trauma. And if you're thinking about it actively every day, it makes it even worse because then it always goes through that pathway, right? The hard part is that you never really move past it. You know, it's imprinted in our brain, but we can reteach our brains, retrain them that this isn't a trauma, that this is safe. So like oftentimes we tell people, like, if you're scared to go over a bridge, you know, as you go through the KBlend program, go drive over a bridge. So we tell people to like re-expose themselves to those traumas in one way, shape, or form, so that way they, as that neuroplastic state is in their brain with the treatments, they can reteach themselves and retrain themselves. So what I like to tell people is that, you know, your trauma, you're never going to fully recover from your trauma because it's always going to hurt. It's always going to be there. You're always going to be, you know, triggered by something in life at some point in time. But the difference is, how are you going to react when it does?
Yeah.
And that will define your future.
And it definitely has it, and it's noticeable.
Yep.
Between before and after.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because now you can recognize those symptoms. You can recognize that behavior. You can recognize your wife will recognize, you know, oh, Jesse's triggered over something, what's going on, and bring it to your attention when you're in the trenches and you start to feel that mud cover your eyes again.
I used to be very defensive if anybody brought anything up, and like just because of what I came from, you know, it was just constant criticism. So like my natural reaction is to be defensive, and really my family's trying to communicate to me, and I need to learn better tools of communication so I don't do the same things that my dad did. And whether I'm drinking and going to the bar or not, I was still reacting in a lot of similar ways. Were they as bad? No, but they were similar, and it just continues that trend that I don't want to continue. And yeah, KBlend is my biggest problem, I think, is that negative thought process. Once I would get into it, it was just easy to just feed that, like, oh, everything sucks, nothing's going to get better. And you just put more into that bucket gets heavier and heavier until you can't pick it up anymore. And it's hard. And KBlend's kind of helped me to be able to like not even fill that up at all. It's like, oh, I can acknowledge this does suck, this happened, and, you know, sit with it for a little while, but not sit in it forever and dwell in that space.
Yeah. And, you know, even just saying on a daily basis, you know, I suck, I can't do anything right, what's wrong with me, I don't deserve this, you know, my kids, like, I'm never going to be a good father. Oh, I screwed that up with my wife. I'm never going to be a good husband. Even saying those things verbally out loud to you, unfortunately, we don't give our brains enough credit. And there's something magical that happens when we verbalize words, and then our brain hears it through our ears, right? And we process that. We are teaching our brain that way, you suck. You're never going to be a good husband. You're never going to be a good father. You're never going to be a good coworker. You're never going to get the job right. You know, you're never going to provide for your family. You're never going to do X, Y, and Z. The list goes on and on and on, right?
And that just spirals.
Yeah. But the more that you verbalize those words, the bigger the spiral gets.
Yep.
And we don't recognize that. Like, our phones are constantly listening to us, right? These smartphones that we have, everybody has them. They're constantly listening to us. You bring up, oh, I need some new blinds for the kitchen. Okay, well, when next time you go on social media, blinds are all over your social media, right? Our brains are doing the same thing, but we don't give our brains the credit as smartphones, right? But we have smart brains. And so that neuroplastic state that you get through the KBlend treatments, that is the magic that gets you to retrain your brain.
And like you said, like facing the hard experiences that you didn't want to do, like I kept having to tell myself, like, this is going to pass. This is going to get better. Like, this isn't the end all be all. Like, I started to change that mindset, and I've had to continue to strengthen that, I guess. But it's a lot easier since all that, you know?
Yep. And mindset is everything. That daily decision to what am I going to do today? What are the decisions that I'm going to make today? Let me ask you this question. Where is the Jesse 5 years from now? Who is he?
Hopefully, dad and husband that everybody wants to come to and trust to be able to come to, and not have like any anxiety over how's dad gonna react, or, you know, just have that trust that I'm gonna do whatever I can for them in the healthiest way possible.
That's amazing. And you're doing it. Every day you're doing it. We've seen where you were when you started, when you first brought your wife to us, the condition that your family was in, the condition that Chantel was in when you started, the condition that you were in, coaching you through some really tough stuff through the process, right? And then here you are today, like
Yeah.
brave enough to come on the radio and share your amazing story and testimonial, knowing very well that you know that you're speaking to somebody out there who understands, who is going through or has been through what you've been through.
Yeah, I had the mindset too of forever, like probably a lot of guys do, of like, oh, I don't want to get therapy. I don't need that. Or if I admit that I'm going to that I'm just broken, and I don't know, all those things that we tell ourselves. And really, like, the scariest part was just making a phone call and coming in. Like, even for my wife, like, I know that's the biggest thing, is like that initial, hey, I need help, and like, is this person gonna actually be there for me? And like, is this actually gonna help? Is this gonna do something? And like, it does. And you unfortunately have to like just take that leap of faith sometimes. And I've had to do that a lot in my life, and a lot of times it hasn't worked out in my benefit, but this is one of the huge ones that it has, where I feel like God stepped in and like brought you guys into our life, like right when we needed to meet you guys.
And we are so thankful that you were brave enough to make the phone call and then brave enough to actually come into the clinic, because that's a very hard thing to do, right?
It
Very hard
is.
thing to do. But praise God, you and your family have seen life transforming results from the KBlend program.
Definitely.
So if you are somebody that you know is listening right now and you understand what Jesse has been going through, please call us 734-605-8500. Again, our phone number is 734-605-8500. You can also visit our website at www.mykblend. That's MY, the letter K, and then BLEND, mykblend.com. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your story. We want to try to help you decipher if the KBlend program is right for you. It's only a phone call. No commitment whatsoever to the program. Give us a call and let us talk to you. Let us see if we can help you. We are here to support you through your mental health journey and your chronic pain diagnoses. So let's walk that path together, the healing road to recovery. Give us a call, 734-605-8500.
Previously
On KBlend.
Tried to quit drinking on my own. I've tried to feel better on my own. My mom just had enough.
Sam was not trying to sound religious. She told truth about life when it falls apart.
I was lashing out. I tried to kill myself, and I have a young child, and I had a husband who loved me very deeply, and it would have destroyed my family. But the attempt was made, and I got put into a psychiatric hold, and I didn't know what to do when I came out. Nothing had changed. I still felt the same. I still wanted to be gone. It felt like I hit rock bottom.
Then Sam's mom found KBlend.
Voices stopped. The negativity stopped. The impulses, the depression got better, the urge to drink felt better. I just felt better. I looked forward to my other treatments, even though it was scary and it's hard work. You have to learn how to let go. And it's a lot harder than it sounds to do. John and you coached me through it, and I ended up just letting go.
As we learn to live honestly, we are also being prepared to walk through the valleys life will bring.
Totally different person. My family notices, my friends, my colleagues. When I lost my husband recently in March, I've never felt pain like that before and figured there's nothing that could be done.
Sam had already begun to recover, but when this loss came, it struck the very places where life had started to become steady again. He was not only the man she loved, he had become a steady place for her daughter, a shelter in her recovery, and part of the life she had hoped for.
It was just me and my daughter till she was 9 years old because her father has a drug addiction, so we cut that out, and it's just been the two of us. It's the first man she's ever met that I dated. He became a great stepfather right away. They hit it off. Everything I ever wanted finally came true after being alone for so long. Marriage isn't perfect, but it was perfect for us. We really had a big stepping stone in my mental health. I couldn't have done it by myself. My family started to turn on me, but he didn't. He knew something was wrong. We just couldn't figure out what it was. I put him through the ringer, just like I did everyone else. He stuck by me and he helped me, trying to figure out what's wrong, how to fix it.
With a single phone call, everything changed.
They think he had some type of medical emergency and he ran into a tree on the way back to pick me up. And it was a fatal car accident. I got to the scene and I got instantly sick.
Sam describes the kind of shock that overwhelms the body, the mind, and the soul. And when the pain went deeper than she could imagine, she found herself slipping back into old ways of surviving.
I went into the shock. I can't remember anything except for just drinking. And I couldn't even get drunk. I was so emotionally upset. It was just like emotion that made me feel better just by doing it, because that's what I'm used to. When I'm happy, I drink. When I'm sad, I drink. When something's hard, I drink. If I celebrate, I drink. This was back in March, and then I had friends and family come stay with me for a couple months. They would take shifts about a week at a time and keep an eye on me because they were scared I was going to do something or resort back to who I was. And understandably so, I was really upset. I didn't talk much. It just was full of tears and drinking. I would wake up and I'd wake people up to me opening my drinks. I would drink all morning, all afternoon, sleep a little bit, drink some more. I stopped eating. I reverted back to my old behaviors. I couldn't take being alive during that. I've suffered loss. I lost my cousin to an overdose, my stepbrother to an overdose. My grandpa, who was like my dad, I lost 3 years ago. So we've been hit with loss after loss, but I've never felt one like this. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how I would live anymore without him. He was such a big part of my life and my daughter's life.
But even in that collapse, something had changed. Sam recognized that if she was going to survive this kind of pain, she had to return to what had already begun to bring real healing.
To be honest, it took me right back to wanting to die because it was so traumatic. But, I got my treatment. I slowed down. I got my reset, and I decided to start just giving it to God and praying. And I'm not a religious person, I would say. I'm spiritual. I believe in God. I just don't do the religious part of it, and I actually started going to AA, and so I've opened my spiritual awareness a little bit more.
KBlend is about more than saying good things about God. It is about learning to encounter Him in the deepest and darkest places, where He becomes not a distant idea or a wish granter, but the true satisfier of the soul. And for those who want to understand how that healing is supported clinically, Sam's full conversation with Dr. Krista also explores the medical side of trauma, shock, and how treatment is carefully applied at KBlend. To hear the full story, visit www.mykblend.com.
I want to help others that have the same problem I have, that know they're not alone, and there is something that works that's not conventional. And it's probably, you're not going to believe it until you try it, but there is something. You don't have to be alone. You don't have to wait until you want to kill yourself. You don't have to sit and suffer every single day with the voices and the negativity and the sadness.
For years now, you've listened to testimonies from other WMUZ listeners about the miraculous effects of KBlend on
PTSD, I'm bipolar, I have anxiety, I have depression.
I was actually diagnosed bipolar. There was a time I was taking probably 30 to 45 pills a day.
I've been dealing with depression for about 2.5 decades. Depression and anxiety. I've been in and out of hospitals, and that's usually because of a suicide attempt.
But you're still suffering. Don't wait any longer. With this special offer from KBlend, now is the time to contact John and Krista at 734-605-8500.
There were a lot of nights where I would go to sleep and I would just hope that I just didn't get up the next day, to be honest with you.
I've tried pretty much everything that you could think of. I was diagnosed with severe depression, severe anxiety, bipolar disorder. I wasn't able to do daily tasks. I would just lay in bed for days. Definitely has not just changed my life, but saved my life.
KBlend acts like a sledgehammer on treatment-resistant mood disorders like suicidal ideation, anxiety, depression, OCD, PTSD, and on chronic pain.
I started noticing a difference, even just after the first treatment. After the third treatment, it was a very, very big difference.
Break the chains of your mood disorder or chronic pain and get real and lasting relief with KBlend. Get on the road to real recovery by calling the helpline at 734-605-8500.
Welcome back to the KBlend Show. I'm Dr. Krista Kleider. Thank you so much for listening today. We are in the last few minutes of our KBlend Show for today, but remember that we air every Saturday on WMUZ 103.5 at 1 o'clock, and we hope that you join us again for another great segment. But today we have been listening to Jesse's amazing testimonial of his wife Chantel and of his stories of coming through the KBlend program and just how life transformational the program has been for both of them and their family, with their children, with communication, with talking about emotions to their children, letting them know that it's okay to be human, okay to make mistakes, right? And letting go of those white knuckle things that we try to control every day in life, right? We've talked about all of that. But Jesse, I want to really go back and hit on something specifically that you spoke about from your past, using substances and addiction. And you very clearly shared with us that you've had some addiction issues in the past with various substances. When patients come through our door, oftentimes they've been taught through modern psychology and modern medicine addiction programs that, you know, the drugs are what we need to stay away from when we've had addiction problems, that you can't go anywhere within a 10-foot, right? It's like COVID. You have to put 10, 15 feet between you and a pill, right? Because that can reignite an addiction. And rightfully so. For some people, that is the case. But for other people, it's almost like that they teach them to put up these boundaries, these walls, not just about pills, but then about situations in their life, being in the same environment, maybe being around the same people, don't interact with them. It's hard to do that in life. It's hard to put up those boundaries. We start to limit our emotions. We start to wall off in different areas of our brain the things that we think, the things that we allow ourselves to think, the things that are, you know, maybe it's our behavior, driving down the same street maybe that we lived on when we were a kid and we use marijuana excessively or something like that, right? So describe to me a little bit about how the addiction process, coming from those programs before KBlend and then going through KBlend, how your thought patterns changed about that.
Well, I had abused prescription pills, quite a few different ones. I had done other hard drugs, and prescription pills was probably the hardest one to just stop taking, and it took a lot of effort, but even afterwards, like, I was able to stop doing prescription pills before I came to KBlend, but it was a constant worry of mine of, like, I had a panic attack, like I expressed to you. I had to have a tooth worked on, and they prescribed me pain medicine, and I had a panic attack thinking I was going to be addicted to pain medicine again because I needed it for my tooth to not be in pain. And like thinking back on that now, I think it was silly, but really like it wasn't coming from the past that I had. Like it felt very real at the time, but like now where I'm at, like it's not something that I worry about anymore. Like somebody could offer me something and I could very confidently say no and hold that boundary. And
Hear the conclusion of Jesse's story on www.mykblend.com.
You've been listening to The KBlend Show with your hosts, John and Krista Kleider. Thank you for joining us. You can find out more about this revolutionary treatment at mykblend.com, or you can speak directly to a KBlend expert by calling 734-605-8500. And join us each Saturday afternoon at 1 for more honest stories of healing and hope with The KBlend Show on 103.5 FM WMUZ The Light. Detroit made, Bible strong.